What's up, you guys? My name is Alex Hampton, and if this is your very first time ever watching any of my videos, hit that subscribe button, then hit that bell right next to it. That way you get all the notifications of every time I'm releasing a video here on my YouTube channel. So guys, this is a very strange topic for today because normally I don't necessarily talk about these types of things. I don't like to do drama. I don't like to talk about controversial things all the time. But in this particular instance, I'm willing to make this exception because I am a fan of the Joe Budden podcast. And on top of that, I am a YouTuber. I'm not a podcaster. I don't have any audio work, but I am a YouTuber. I am a content creator. I am a media marketer. I have a lot of experience in creating content and creating media stuff within my own platform and for other platforms as well. Like, that's what I do. That's what I went to school for. To give you a basic background on me, I am a filmmaker at heart, but I know how to create great content. I have over 100 episodes of the Ask Alex Show. I have 2 successful seasons of Real Debates. I also have interviewed great celebrities amongst my channel. I have over 400 videos on my channel. So I think I know what I'm talking about in regards to creating content and building a brand and still capitalizing on your brand and seeking great opportunities. Now with Joe Budden, recently Joe Budden was on his podcast and he fired Rory and Maul, his 2 friends / co-hosts amongst his podcast. Now, originally, before this even happened, they were going through like a strike between Joe Budden. Rory and Maul were striking about not coming back on the podcast until they feel respected. Also, they were not coming back on the podcast also because I'm going to assume money. Basically Joe was basically saying during the latest episode, Rory was asking for things that were not applicable to his contract. Same for Maul. They were basically giving him suggestions and telling him what he should do with the Joe Budden podcast. Joe Budden was basically like, listen, I'm the leader of this. I fought for this. I put money into this. I'm doing the necessary things to do to run my network, and yet I am successful. I've been overpaying you guys. You guys have been eating off of me and what I bring to the table and what you guys bring to the table. But literally, this is me and my brand. Now, I want to talk about, did Joe handle this the right way? Now, let me just say this in Joe Budden's defense. And everything that he said about building his brand, he's not lying. Like, it's his brand. He can do whatever he wants with his brand. If he wants to expand his brand in a certain way, he's allowed to do that. Rory and Maul, I don't know them personally, but I don't think that they have any other substantial content outside of the Joe Budden podcast. I don't know that for a fact because I don't know them. I've never met any of them or their representation. However, I didn't know who they were until the Joe Budden podcast. That's just me. Now, I understand that they wanted more in certain things in terms of ownership and all this other stuff, but they should have asked for those things in negotiations. And they probably did. I'm not sure if they did or not, but let's just go by what Joe Budden said, that they were asking for things that were outside of their contract. Now, I think personally, both parties are wrong. I think Rory and Maul asking for certain things in ownership and all this other different stuff outside of their contract is wrong if you already agreed to something. Joe Budden coming at them in the way that he came at them on his podcast was wrong, and it could have been handled differently. Now, let me just say this. Joe Budden, very successful dude in terms of making his podcast grow in the way that it's grown. I will never shit on Joe Budden and say that he doesn't know what he's doing. However, I will say this, which is documented. I'm not making this shit up. You can go look this up for yourself. Joe Budden has created a lot of things that have diminished a lot of the relationships. Not diminished, destroyed a lot of relationships that he's had. He was at Complex. Things didn't work out at Complex because of Joe. The Spotify deal, he didn't come to terms with Spotify. And then, he basically talked about Spotify on his podcast while Spotify was still broadcasting his podcast on their network during the last little bit of their deal. Joe Budden, you know, doesn't have great relationships with certain radio stations, and he doesn't have great relationships within the hip hop industry in terms of labels. Now, Joe Budden, it's not a surprise that Joe Budden has had complicated histories with other people within the industry of media or music. It's not a secret. I mean, like I said, you can go look this stuff up. It's right there. That being said, I do agree that yes, Joe Budden is free to do whatever he wants. But at the same time, there's a thing called professional business. And for me personally, if you have a dispute with your coworkers or your friends or whatever, you handle that privately. I don't believe that you should go get on camera and talk about how you have an issue with your co-host. They want these different things, you want different things, and y'all try to come to a consensus. Now, let me just say, I wasn't there. I don't know what happened. I just know what was presented to me. And let me also just say that I don't know anybody involved in their camp. I don't. So I don't have any insider information about this stuff at all. I know just as much information like y'all do. That being said, in my opinion, Joe Budden, I think, handled that situation wrong. I don't think it's fair for a business owner or a creator or an artist or whatever to get on your platform and start talking shit about your coworkers that you have a dispute with. Just like I don't think that those coworkers should get on their platforms of any kind and talk shit about y'all, talk shit about you as well. I think that y'all are adults. Y'all can work things out like adults, and I don't think it has to come to some online BS. I don't think that that's fair. I don't think that it should ever get to that point. You know, speaking from my own experience, I am not by any means in the same tax bracket or in the same level of notoriety as Joe Budden. I will be one day, but I know I'm not now. With that being said, just to give you a personal story about me, and I won't mention any names or anything like that, but there was a person I used to collaborate with. And I collaborated a lot on this person's channel. I think this person collaborated with me maybe 2 or 3 times on my channel. The videos are still up on there. I would say that at some point we just stopped talking. And, it wasn't any beef or anything like that. At least not in my opinion. There wasn't really any beef. But if I'm being honest, we reached out to each other, or I reached out to this individual. He reached back out to me. We had like a one-on-one conversation, and I guess we didn't really meet in the middle, and we just stopped creating together. We had been stopped, but we just stopped speaking to one another. I didn't get on YouTube or social media or anything to talk bad about that person. That person didn't do the same to me either. And I'm just saying, there has to be a level of integrity. Now, I get it that Rory and Mal, regardless of what their contracts are, they should definitely be respected as individuals. They're men, they're human beings. Joe Budden doesn't have the right to talk crazy to them in any way, shape, or form. I don't care if he owns the brand or not, and vice versa. There should be some form of mutual respect, especially if you're calling people your friends. For instance, Jeremy and Ian are my friends. Fuck YouTube. We talk about stuff outside of the whole YouTube stuff. I wouldn't dare go out and openly disrespect them just because I feel like it. That doesn't make any sense. Just like they wouldn't do the same with me. So for me personally, when we're talking about podcasting and YouTubing and all these other different things, when there's business and money and friends involved, there has to be strict guidelines between those 3 things. And me personally, I feel like if you guys have a falling out, it should be dealt with internally. Now, like I said, I do agree that with Joe in the sense that he's the showrunner. He's the CEO. He's the owner. So he has the right to do whatever he wants. He does. But I think in terms of good business, there's certain things that you should handle outside of the public view, especially if it's something going on internally about your business. Because what Joe Budden has done, and I'm going to give you guys an example about consequences, because I had someone try to tell me about consequences. First of all, I'll give you an example. let's say, well, let's bring up the Spotify thing. Joe Budden had a deal with Spotify. Joe Budden decided to not renew his deal with Spotify. Joe Budden got on his podcast and said, you know what? He just basically talked shit about Spotify for about maybe one or two or more episodes for more than 30 minutes. Okay, not just him, Rory and Maul did the same thing. Now, he then later on got his deal with Patreon and I believe Cash App, which is now more of a successful deal that he ever got at Spotify. So he doesn't need Spotify. Now you're asking me, what's the consequence behind that? Well, let's just say this. No, I'm going to say what it is. The consequence behind that is that, well, if Joe Budden wanted to go back to Spotify, I'm willing to bet that no executive at Spotify is willing to do business with him. Even though that may not hurt him financially, he just burnt a bridge. You burnt a bridge with one of the biggest audio companies in the world that houses music and podcasting. You burnt that bridge. And now you have to suffer the consequences behind that. And the consequence is that you may not get your content on that platform anymore, or you may not be able to do a deal with them since that whole debacle that you had. Now that may not hurt his business, which it hasn't. Again, he has great deals, but the consequence is that you shattered that bridge. And now you may or may not be able to rebuild that bridge if you choose to want to do business with Spotify. Let's take another example. Complex. He had a show on Complex with academics in Nadeska called Everyday Struggle. He was on there for, I think, 2 or 3 seasons, maybe. What happened? He got let go. And now I'm willing to bet if he were to contact Complex and be like, hey, you want to do something? Complex is in their rights to say no, because we know who you are. Now that may not hurt him, but at the same time, he has to go through those consequences. It may not hurt him financially, but the consequence is you burnt a bridge. And the point I'm making is that, when you burn bridges, it may not hurt your business. It may not hurt you financially. It may not hurt you as far as you want to go. But it means that you've burnt bridges to things that you may one day have to go back to. Not saying you will, but it could potentially happen. So that's what I'm saying. If you're going to part ways with something, you can do it respectfully and not drag it out. And that's my thing. So my thing is that I wish nothing but the best for Joe Budden and Rory and Maul. I hope they can resolve whatever issues that they got going on. But at the same time, if I'm being 100% honest, I don't necessarily agree with how everything went down. As a fellow content creator and as a fellow human being and a fellow businessman, if I had a problem with anybody that was creating content with, the last thing I would do is out them on my platform. And not to say I have a huge platform in comparison to his, but I know what my platform could be at some point. So I'm not going to take my platform and just shit on the people who've wronged me. No, obviously what we didn't work out. I'm going to move on and go this way. You're going to move on and go some different way. That's cool. But coming at each other like that, I just feel like we're adults and we don't have to do anything like that. But, what do you guys think about all this? Do you think Joe Budden was right? Do you think he was wrong? Do you stand with Rory and Maul? Jump into the comment section below. Let me know your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel where you get all the updates of every time I'm releasing a video here on my YouTube channel. Guys, we're almost at 3,000 subscribers, guys. 3,000 subscribers. Let's get to that number. # road to 3,000. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. And as always, you have a blessed day.